Thank you for watching State and Local. I'm Anne-Marie Battistone, and this is NCTV. And my guest today is involved in a state role. She is the Republican State Committee woman. That would be Patricia Saint Aubin. And she's talking about her re-election bid. She's the incumbent, and she's up for a re-election bid on March 3rd. So we're going to be talking about that. And I'm going to ask her about what a Republican State Committee woman does. Oh, Patricia, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you for having me back. Enjoy this program very much.
Oh, I'm glad. Now, what's important about this job?
Well, this job, Republican State Committee woman, is going to be on the March 3rd presidential primary ballot. So after people come out and vote for either Trump or Joe Walsh or Bill Weld, it's a separate question further down. And so it's an intra-party vote that only Republicans or people that are unenrolled pull a Republican ballot that day will be voting for. The Democrats probably do something similar on their side, but I'm not really sure how they function it. I believe it's on their ballot too. But in each Senate district, we have two representatives that basically sit on the Mass GOP Board of Directors. That's basically what this role is. It's a non-paying position. It is elected, but it is elected by people that pull that Republican ballot every presidential cycle. Oh. So every 4 years, this is when someone's up for election or re-election. So I've been in since 2012, and they are 4-year terms. And so I'm just completing my second term, and this would be my third term.
You know, I find it curious. It must be a holdover from a long time ago that there's a man and a woman.
Right. There is a state committee man, and there is a state committee woman. And as I said, there's
all across
yes, there's 40 state Senate districts. So you have a body that's made up of 80 people that sit on this board then. And it actually works kind of well. I mean, there's no real one voice or another, you know, the female versus male, everybody sort of gets along nicely. But I think you're right. It is perhaps historically a holdover with a nice feel to it. In that, you know, this is actually the 100th year, 2020, of women having the right to vote.
Oh.
This is the year of the suffragette.
Oh, so, for goodness, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's the 100th anniversary of women having the right to vote. So when the state committee came along, I think it was perhaps in the 30s that I think they felt that it would be fair to have a woman and a man, because at that point, there probably weren't too many women running for any type of office.
Right.
And it would have been 80 men probably.
Right.
So although it seems kind of archaic now, I think it actually started out as something that was viewed as, let's make it fair as possible. Let's have 40 men and 40 women. So it's not dominated.
Now, is this just a GOP thing, or is it on the
I believe it's on the other side.
They probably call them persons.
I don't know what, but they have a bigger state committee than we do. I think, you know, the unions have a representative. I think, you know, there's other representatives. I've just heard because I knew somebody that was a Democratic state committee man, and he never came to Norfolk. He lived in Wayland, which is a part of the district, and he never came to Norfolk. He said, oh, there's like 5 other people that can handle Norfolk. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they have many more that sit on their state committee than the 80 that we have. So,
but isn't that the duty that you're supposed to go to all these towns? What do you actually have to do?
Well, yes. First, I'd just like to say what towns are involved. I do live in Norfolk. So I'm, you know, right here with everybody in my backyard. But we have Wayland, we have a section of Wellesley, a section of Needham, all of Sherburne, Millis, a portion of Natick, a portion of Franklin, all of Norfolk, all of Rentham, all of Plainville, all of North Attleboro, and like 2 small precincts in the city of Attleboro. So it's like a serpentine district. It was the district that Senator Richard Ross had, and Scott Brown before that. And I guess it's Becca Rausch that has it presently, the Democrat. But
right.
that it is a large district. It takes me quite a while to get to the meetings in Wayland, for example. I'm nice in that I'm situated probably in the middle.
Yes, with Franklin, Norfolk, Millis, and all. Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the center of the district, but it still takes me about 45, 50 minutes to get to Wayland, to the meetings out there. But I do go to the majority of the Republican Town Committee meetings, and most of the towns have a Republican town committee. Sometimes they fall off the books. It happens. Somebody moves away. Nobody wants to step up. There's just different things that happen on a town committee that it could make it go defunct.
Well, you were instrumental in trying to keep that from happening in Rentham, weren't you?
Yeah, Rentham's up and running. I mean, people age out too, they've done it for 10 or 15 years. It's like any volunteer organization, which these committees are. So Rentham's got a small committee right now, but they're active. They meet regularly. So, in all the towns I've tried to recruit somebody to come in as chair or potentially treasurer if the treasurer is moving away. I have to sit and look at the people and what their skill sets are and try to make advice or encourage people to run. But we also encourage Republican candidates to run too.
I was just going to say.
Yes, and so I work hard in this district to recruit Republican candidates, but it's not unknown for me to go elsewhere to help a Republican candidate. I just helped Shauna O'Connell, for example, down in Taunton. She had been a state rep, and then she decided to become mayor of Taunton, or at least seek that position.
She
won. Yeah, she won by 63%, some really large number. She did phenomenally well. But I went down to Taunton to door knock for her. I've gone to Fall River to door knock for another friend. I've actually gone.
Well, that's hard work.
Yeah,
that's hard work.
Well, it is. Some of the houses are quite far apart from one another, and then you got to trudge up.
And some of them could be, I imagine, a little bit, you might kind of have some. I remember that with I was driving the car for somebody who was going to the houses.
Yeah.
Some of the houses looked a little dicey, and then somebody ended up getting bitten by a dog in the yard.
It can happen, yeah.
And so, it's
yeah, and again, it's volunteer work. You can have fun with it, and I try to make it fun. But
because you've been in some of the cars that I've driven around.
Yeah,
yes, that's right. That's right. I remember now.
We worked a couple of campaigns together. So, anyway, but yeah, it is a volunteer job within the Republican Party. But right now, I'm budget chair as well. So I sit on the.
Since when did you get that position?
When Jim Lyons came in as chair, he was elected about a year ago.
Right.
He's a former state rep out of the Andover area, and he lost his state rep seat in 2018. So in 2019, he decided to run for party chair. And it was, I think, January 17th, a year ago, that he won. So I have a degree in accounting. And so it sort of it dovetailed with my background.
So was somebody leaving, or was it just understood when he came in he would have a new?
It was understood when he came in that,
that's true, yes.
that he would pick his own executive committee. So,
that's
I think a couple of people may have stayed on that were, on the committee before, but it was pretty much starting fresh.
Now, is that time consuming? Or do you do that at home? You must have to work at home.
It's time consuming. Like I have the budget for 2020 that, I put together, and, it's accounting work, and it's taking a look at, what we did in 2019 and try to take averages and figure out where we can save money. One of the things that we're trying to do, Jim and I, is save money so that ultimately more of the dollars that come in for donations end up in candidates' pockets, so that it helps them as a candidate to mount campaigns. So, we're working hard. One of the things that recently happened is we were paying for rent down at 85 Merrimack Street in downtown Boston, and the rent was going up January 1st by 32%. An ungodly amount of an increase. And so it was going to be very burdensome on the budget, because it was already like $6,700 or so, and then it was going up 32%. So Jim, set about looking for someplace else that was more reasonable. So January 1st, they were actually allowed in a few days early, but we moved to Woburn. So the Mass GOP's headquarters is now in Woburn at Cummings Park. I have not been up to see the new facility, but I hear that it's very nice, and that the downtown office, although it was right there in downtown, it was in a very old building, and the setup up in the way it flowed was a little awkward.
Those old streets back there. Yeah. And there's really no need for it to be in Boston.
I didn't think so.
I think this is a good move.
Yeah, and so we brought the rent down to $31.59 a month from what would have been close to probably $8,000 a month. So we've done that. We also switched out compliance people, which are the accountants that look and have to file with the FEC and OCPF, Office of Campaign and Political Finance within the state. And we took a look at that, and Jim knew of somebody that was outside of the state. We had been working with somebody inside the state, but again, they were charging twice as much. And so he made the decision to move the account elsewhere. And we're actually getting better financials from them so that I can take a look at what's going on like a weekly basis if I want to. Because I'm budget chair, I can request looking at what's coming in and what's going out.
Now you're pursuing a PhD, are you not?
That too, yes. I have that degree in accounting, which I professionally audited. And some folks may remember that I ran for auditor in 2014 and did get the Boston Globe endorsement at the time, but didn't win. But
that was really, that was really a coup to get up for a Republican.
Yes, a female Republican at that. But now I'm still on state committee as I was at that time. I have a master's in American history from Providence College, which is where my undergraduate in accounting is from. And I'm presently working on a PhD in humanities, but my focus is colonial Providence.
Oh.
Yeah, there's 25 years before the American Revolution.
So you must be back and forth down there.
Not anymore. I've finished, it's like any degree, there's like 10 core classes that you have to take. I've finished up my coursework. I passed 2 oral exams in the last 4 months, and a written comprehensive exam that was 10 days of
10 days
of grueling
Good Lord.
hardship. It was August, and I'm glad I did it in August, but it was difficult. It was difficult.
Now tell me something. Now, how are you organizing your campaign? I believe you have you had a logo made, did you not?
Yeah. In fact, I think I don't know.
I think we're going to have a look at that. So now, what's involved in? I mean, if I had to do that, I had no idea where to start. I mean,
yeah, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's like any campaign, you got to get out and talk to people. I mean, I go to all the Republican town committees. They're pretty much all in support of my reelection. And so that's very nice to have that support. I mean, I work hard at this.
I think you're known for that.
I
think that's a fair. I mean, I'm not saying it just to be. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, everybody recognizes that about you.
Boost my ego here or whatever. But I do tend to be at mostly every meeting. And so I'm visible, and people appreciate that. They appreciate somebody coming, even if you can only stay for a little bit. Who's knowledgeable and can add something. I mean, one of the nice things that I see in this 11-town, one-city district is what another Republican town committee might be doing that seems to be successful. And I bring that, that institutional knowledge, so to speak, to another town committee. They don't all gravitate towards the idea, but if I can present and say, one town might do a lemonade stand, and they make lemonade from scratch, and they pull in $600 or $700, and then they have that in their kitty that then they can make donations to candidates, so they can fund somebody in their own town to maybe run for selectmen or school committee or something. So I bring ideas like that. The other thing
don't you sort of mentor people that are? You would mention a little bit earlier. Mentor people that are running for the first time.
Yes, exactly. I'm not at liberty to say who it is, but it looks like we're having someone step forward to run for the state senate on the Republican side.
Oh, is that so?
Yes. That announcement may be coming shortly, so I'm not at liberty to speak on that person's behalf.
Well, it's good to know that.
But yes, I have been helpful, I would say, in putting that person in touch with people in the district, people outside of the district, people that could help them in their campaign. And again, that's the institutional knowledge. I mean, I've worked on campaigns since I was in college in 1979.
Well, there's a famous photo of you.
Yeah,
It was with
George H.W.
right,
Bush.
with the father.
When I was 21 or so,
Yes,
20 years old. He came to New
great
Bedford
picture.
to speak, and that my father was the Southeastern Mass Regional Director for the George H.W. Bush campaign in 1979. And we had everybody. I was in college. My mother came to pick me up at PC and drive me home. They had a luncheon, and it must have gathered like 300 or 400 people. My father was very involved in the New Bedford, South Dartmouth business community, and he had everyone there. I mean, he had Biff McLean, who was, a big state senator. He might have even been majority whip at the time for the Democrats. But he had everybody across the board, anybody that was a business or activist in the community of New Bedford or South Dartmouth. And so that's where the picture was taken. It was taken on the docks in New Bedford.
It's a
with
great
the fishing fleet. I look very young there.
You have very long hair.
Very long hair, but I was still in college.
Big smile.
Big smile. So, and then that campaign morphed into the Reagan-Bush campaign. I worked that. I had graduated from college in 1980, and so I was in the financial district. And once he became VP with Reagan, the office was on Federal Street, I think it was, and that my office was just a couple of blocks down at the Shawmut Bank. I'd leave my work and go over there and volunteer every night, but it was a great way to meet people being new to town. It was like we were all young and working a campaign. So although I've been on state committee for 8 years, my history of helping and working with candidates goes back a lot farther. I mean, Scott Brown, worked every campaign for him.
Remember that.
Every campaign. I was Richard Ross's first campaign manager when he ran for state rep when Scott moved up to state senate. So,
Right.
I've kind of done it all for, many candidates. And then along with being a candidate in 2014 for statewide office. So you learn things. And
Now, I hope this isn't an indiscreet question, but are these campaigns expensive to run?
They can be. I'm probably going to put up a few thousand, or whatever, a couple of thousand for things that I got to buy, business cards.
Right, all the paperwork. You're not
and
putting out signs.
Probably not. The time of year doesn't warrant it.
That's true.
With the snow and
Right,
everything.
and the frozen
Got to
ground
play
and-
that by ear and just see. So
Now, who else is there? There's the primary because Weld and Walsh.
right, made it on the ballot, and
Do they have?
They didn't.
What percentage of?
I don't know. I think mostly everybody coming out could be with Trump. Who's to say what people can do what they want that day? But the Secretary of State, Bill Galvin, did do a lottery, apparently, about where the names were going to be positioned, because oftentimes ballots appear alphabetically.
Yes.
But Trump would have been first with
Right.
Walsh and Wells.
Right.
And so there was a lottery done, I don't know, a couple of months ago, where he said that what got pulled out first, I think, is Joe Walsh, and Bill Weld is second, and Trump is third.
Why was he worried about not making it alphabetical the way they always have?
Because Trump would have been first, I guess. I don't know. I mean, he claimed he just did it. I don't
He's a
know the
Democrat,
man.
isn't he?
Yes. I mean, he's been Secretary of State for 20 some odd years. So he had a race this past go round last year where Lenny Sakam's son ran against him.
Oh, all right.
But he
As in the
prevailed.
Zakim Bridge. Mm-hmm. Wow.
But he prevailed, Galvin did. So he made that decision. I think Jim Lyons, the chair of our party, tried to interject and say, the president should, as the president, should be, his T is before W.
That's right.
It should be alphabetical.
Yeah.
But Jim lost that round. And so
Well, you know what it's about. I mean, everybody knows.
I think if people are going to come out for any of those candidates, they'll know where to check off.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then, my questions further down, and hopefully people.
Now, you're calling it a question.
Well, it just, it's I don't know what else you would call it. Like when you vote for somebody,
Yes.
it's sort of a question who you want to support, and you check off one candidate or another.
Yes.
I call it a question.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what else someone would call it.
Oh.
But I just want to go over those towns again.
All
so,
right.
If people see this and they have relatives living in the
Oh,
other
yes,
towns.
that's true,
and,
yes.
they like what they see and like what they hear, please tell others.
Yes, that's a...
It's Wayland and portions of Wellesley, portions of Needham, Sherburne, Millis, Natick, portions of Franklin, all of Norfolk, where we live, Rentham, Plainville, North Attleboro, and a couple of precincts in Attleboro.
Now, let me just ask a question. It just occurred to me. Since it's portions of Franklin, say, there's only one Franklin RTC, right?
Yes.
So I see. Okay. So you go to those, but the people that will see your name.
Yeah, might not be in the meeting.
Okay.
And that happens in several of those towns. But what happens there is that because it's another state Senate district, there's 2 other state committee people. And so there can be 4 of us at a meeting rather than the 2.
I see. Right.
Or sometimes there's one from one Senate district and I'm there from the other Senate district.
All right.
So it can be confusing. And sometimes people in these split towns, they don't know where they live and who their state senator is and who they are ultimately going to vote for on March 3rd. So they don't all know that Richard Ross was their state senator. They don't all know that Rebecca Rausch is presently their state senator. It's kind of confusing.
Well, it's discouraging too. You'd think they'd...
Well, they're activists, so you'd think most people would know who is their state senator, but there's still some confusion. But they did this, Anne-Marie, so that the district is gerrymandered. So they know that this is a Republican district for the most part. The northern end a little bit less so, but the southern end certainly. And so they've tried to weaken it. Mm-hmm. And with the 2020 census, all that comes up again.
Oh, yes.
To be able to split the district again.
Oh, yes.
And
this is why they want to make Washington, D.C. a state.
Yeah,
because it'll be another set of 2 senators, reps,
right.
And it'll all go in one direction.
Exactly. So
and everybody knows it.
that's what we have to pay attention to in 2020 is this relook by the state Senate.
Oh yeah. Right.
Where the districts are going to align again, and it'll if it realigns, it'll be to weaken that Republican
absolutely.
stronghold.
That's what they do.
Yes.
Well, listen, we're just about out of time.
Oh, okay. Wow, that went quite quickly.
I know it did. So thank you for coming on. Good luck with this.
Thank you.
If you need luck, I do really.
I ask for everyone's vote. I hope you reelect me.
But you're widely known, and people know that you work hard. And
well, thank you. I hope so.
I don't.
It's March
in my
3rd.
humble opinion, I don't think you have anything to worry.
It's March 3rd, and Patricia Saint Aubin's the name, and I live here in town, so I'm hoping everybody comes out to support me again.
They will. Oh, thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you.
And thank you for watching State and Local. Again, my guest was Patricia Saint Aubin. She's the incumbent running for the state committee woman for this district, which she just enumerated, and that will be the March 3rd election. Republican
side of things.
The Republican side. So, if you were just listening to the last few seconds, you'd realize it. But thank you for watching. This is NCTV, and I'm Anne-Marie Battistone.